Welcome to the Habits of the Few, where we discuss habits, rituals, and mindset tactics that you can use to reach your version of success. And now, here's your host, Mo Nabolsi.
Thank you guys again so much for tuning in to another episode of Habits of the Few. Today's guest is another fantastic human being. She is an actress, a producer, an author, an entrepreneur. You may know her from movies like True Detective, The Other Woman, The Purge. But don't let that fool you. This woman is incredibly insightful. She's got amazing tips for you to succeed at life. If you're in the entertainment business, she's got some gold nuggets that she can drop on for you. So enjoy the episode, and I'll see you guys on the other side.
Where I grew up, I was not allowed to play outside. So I was kind of left to my own imagination and watching Annie 1,000 times to kind of construct my friend group. And then I don't know, when I started writing in kindergarten, I said I want to be in the TV when I grow up. There was an element of human behavior that I was just fascinated with. We had mirrors, and when I was little, and the fact that there was like 100 of me moving at the same time was part of like my playtime activity. I just really have, I think, an intuitive sense for dissecting and understanding human beings and how we work, and getting to step into somebody else's shoes has always been really exciting and thrilling and interesting for me. But I had no tools. My parents are not in the industry. Even when I moved to LA, I had no tools. My education was it started in the theater background, but then I just wanted to switch just to get out to LA as fast as possible. So I switched to communications. So when I moved here, I was like, oh my God, I got off a plane expecting the characters of Disneyland to greet me. And it just, the whimsical element of what acting was all of a sudden came to a screeching halt. Like, how do I actually do this? So I think that's where the idea of my podcast kind of came into fruition. I was already doing interviews for a long time, just asking people about their auditions. It was going to be 101 most unforgettable auditions because people never really talk about that element. And being a brand new person to this industry when I first moved here, everything was so daunting, and I had to learn on-the-job training, meaning I had on-the-job failing as well. Mm-hmm. So once I turned the interviews into this podcast long-form conversation, I could really dissect with people how they do this creative job, because there is no right way, is what I've come to realize. I've interviewed over probably 400 people now, and none of it's ever the same. So I wanted to kind of put out this, what I call now a mentorship program, which is kind of like how I built this for actors or any creative, because now I do other sides of the camera, any element of storytelling, how they got into it, why, and what keeps them in it, because I failed so much at the beginning. So that's what it's kind of turned into for me. So there was never like, a lot of people I interview, they're 17 and they're walking in the mall and they got discovered, and then all of a sudden had an agent doing all this stuff for them. I didn't have that. I had a different trajectory where I think it took me probably a decade to admit to my friends that this is what I wanted to do. And then probably took me another decade to get out here to actually do it, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. I think storytelling is one of the most profound elements to selling, let alone conveying and acting and portraying to be somebody or a character or something like that. Just storytelling in itself is such a monumental skill set to master. That's so great that seems to be like your focal point. So this mastery course, is it a course? Do you have like an online educational platform where potential because I would highly suggest you do something like that. That would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's super easy now with all the technology too.
Yeah, I think it's more element of a matter of time for me. I look at every interview as a mentorship program. I don't think they're in the right way. So as far as me teaching a course or providing some online course for somebody to buy, I would feel like a fraud. I understand the monetary value in doing that for myself. But what I like about the podcast and about interviewing somebody different in the avenue of storytelling is there is no right way. So it would make me feel, not to say that I won't ever do it in the future, but I'm still learning myself. So I just like highlighting stories or showing people that are part of the storytelling business and how they did it. So there's different ideas that I have as far as like online class. I'm actually going to do a class about how do you start a podcast, because now I'm starting a scripted podcast. That to me feels like something that I can monetarily put out there for people to digest and pay money for. But as far as selling this idea of, hey, this is my program and this is how you can become an actor, it's just my maybe made up way of how I've made it to this point, but I don't feel like I've made it. So I don't feel like I'm at that point in my career where I can put out that kind of career course for people to digest. I think that's the element of the podcast that I like, is that people can listen to Eve's story or Michelle Monaghan's story or Pendensham, who's an Oscar-nominated writer, and figure out, oh, that's the way they got into their elements of storytelling. And it just more or less being an inspiration to keep other people in the business of storytelling, because that's how I think we learn a lot about ourselves as human beings and how we are able to make other people feel understood and seen. And that's kind of my goal of that, is to keep people, the way I was raised was not necessarily a conducive environment for me to be a creative person. So I want the podcast, or however I raise my child, to give an element of like, whatever you want to do, you can do with certain steps. And here's how people have done it and failed, and here's how people have done it and succeeded.
I like that. So you're trying to create an environment, not necessarily specific to a platform or one platform, but to create the environment that is all encompassing, that you wanted to have or you wished you had when you were a child, that has helped blossom and develop you to what you are today. Do you see yourself as like, or let me ask, where do you see yourself as far as an evolution? Do you see yourself becoming a writer? I'm not sure if you are a writer now. Is that like the next step? Where do you see yourself like in the next 5 years?
I would like to be, yes, I see myself as a storyteller. So acting falls into that. Being the podcast that I have falls into that. The material that I'm writing at this moment falls into that. In 5 years, I would love to be, Reese Witherspoon, where I'm sitting and being able to produce content that gets me excited, that allows me to work with people that get me excited, and that keeps books and stories alive. Like Reese has done a beautiful job of it. Like, her acting career was her way into it, but now she's this powerhouse of a woman supporting other women's stories, giving light and money and attention to stories that need to be made. She has a book club, it's a constant evolution of her seeking out stories that excite her. So that's where I would like to be in 5 years. I would love to be a series regular on something and then producing content in another way and having the podcast still going. I think the podcast will become more interesting to people if I continue to succeed in the storytelling business. And that's where I would like to be, so that I guess, what would you say? How would I put it? That the class or the relevancy of the podcast still stands, because I am still in this business, learning new elements of it and regurgitating it that way. And the other day I had this moment, I was like, oh, what happens if some of my dreams come true and I become a series regular, I get nominated for an Oscar, am I going to stop doing the podcast? I'm like, no, then I'm going to start asking questions of myself at that level. I ask questions every week of the people I'm interviewing. How do they do it? How are they juggling this? Because this is the level that I'm at in my career. Or I ask the questions that I wanted to know 10 years ago. In 5 years, I'm going to be asking the questions that I want to know at that point in my career. And hopefully then that's why it's so relatable to career-oriented minded people that are in the storytelling business, to be able to digest it, feel inspired, and keep going.
Yeah, and as you level up, you're basically exposing yourself to to a higher level of people, right? Not to say that the level of people that you're talking to today are at a low level. It's just that as you evolve, questions become evolved, and the people you associate yourself with. So you may have new questions. You may have a different outlook or perspective on things. What, this podcast is specifically about habits of the few, the small percentage of people that go after the things that they believe in, their dreams, that are disciplined enough to achieve it on a day-to-day basis. What are the few things that you do on a regular basis that is part of your routine that you cannot break? Do you have a routine? Is there something specifically you do that helps you keep on learning? What is your continued education? What is it that keeps you motivated and disciplined? If you wouldn't mind sharing those things, I'd love to hear about them.
Well, I think just the way that I'm built. I think I'm built out of being told I can't do something. So that is always a drive. Yeah. So I think that's just in the chemical makeup of me. So right. I think anytime I achieve a new level in my career, even in my personal life, I want to go to the next level. I'm never necessarily content with where I am. So I feel like that's a driving force constantly. What gets me excited. Also, my friend and I were just talking about being open and being in the flow. In order for me to be a good actor, a good storyteller, I have to be very present and I have to be in the flow so I don't miss out on things that excite me or that I can deliver as a writer or as an actor or as an interviewer on those levels. So things that help me stay very present on a daily basis. I usually try to wake up an hour before my kiddo does. I have a kid now, so those rituals have kind of been adjusted according to her demands at this time. But I write every morning. I just do a stream of consciousness for three pages just to get myself always writing one and kind of trying to keep myself as an open portal to what I'm dealing with in my psyche so I can be present and not battling with the past or battling with the future.
So those 3 pages, what do they consist of?
Just a stream of consciousness.
Okay.
Anything. Some days I literally am like, I don't know why I'm writing. It's beautiful outside. This is happening. But usually by the 3rd page, there's some digestible information that all of a sudden sets me in a trajectory of my day that makes the day very clear.
Okay.
For me. So if I kind of have a dream that I need to dissect, I'll dive into that. Even if I just have a to-do list that I don't know how many get through, I do that. And then I meditate usually for 5 to 10 minutes. And then I kind of go on my day, and I try to every Sunday look at my week's worth of work and try to set an intention to keep myself in a headspace that keeps me present with that work and not jumping to the future. Because I think as a storyteller, no matter which way you're doing it, if you're trying to jump and or have a certain outcome or result, even in auditioning, that's usually when you fail. But if you're if you're in the journey, if you're trying to be immersed in the character, if you're trying to understand what that character's thinking at that moment, or just connecting with another person, then I can usually put my head on a pillow at the end of the night and feel like, oh, there was something enjoyable. I also do a gratitude practice every day.
Nice.
I do 10 things that I'm grateful for in the morning, and when I hit the pillow at night, my husband and I, if we're going to bed at the same time, try to like regurgitate something that we're grateful for, just to keep me in a balance of a positive flow, and also just remembering things. I think life is sped up so much. We're so impulsive, from social media to what we need to digest on a daily basis and who's doing what now or this and that creativity can, I think, be really stifled by that. So I'm just trying to be more simple. A long and winded answer to your question.
No. I appreciate it. I like description and I like definitive answers at the same time. So at night, your nightly routine is, particularly with your husband, where you try to find some form of gratitude for that day so that you can rest easy knowing that the negative thoughts aren't overcoming. They're not overpowering all of the positive. Because I think we as human beings, I think negativity tends to usually win over positivity, or at least it lingers a lot longer, and it tends to kind of overpower it in a way. Like it's almost devastating.
Well, yeah, and there's actually a scientific reason why that exists. I learned this from interviewing Pendulum. I did like a 2-part thing, like why our brains are wired to attach to fear and negativity and positivity. And there's scientific reasons for it. I mean, it was part of our evolution to survive. Like you digest something negative and you attach to it in order to like not die. You know, like
interesting.
So it's interesting where evolution has taken us now, that some of those fears are validated, like that inner critic that's trying to keep you from falling off the cliff or doing something that somebody else did and died. You don't have to have those fears anymore. It's like a protection thing. And I think as a creative person, if you're creating something new, if you just expect there to be fear, just like there is gravity in the world, you'll know, oh, I'm getting ready to create something new. Here comes the fear. There it is. Thank you so much for trying to keep me safe. Moving on. Let's keep moving. Like instead of attaching yourself to that negativity. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what do you, I guess my question to you would be, and this is just your own opinion, how do you overcome fear as being like kind of going on to this, because they say fear is one of the most powerful motivators in life. I fear, I don't know, losing my house. So I have to work hard every single day so that I can pay my mortgage. I fear, my children getting sick. So I make sure that they get the best care that they possibly can. So it propels you to do something positive. But I've also been reading a lot, been listening to Ed Milet a lot lately, talking about how fear is actually not the best motivator. Which, I mean, I agree, it is just so hard to overcome. So, why do you think that is? And what do you think would be the better alternative?
I don't mind fear being a motivator. I really don't. I mean, I talk to me maybe in 20, 30 years, but now the way my life has been built, it actually has been built. It has been motivated by fear. But have you seen the Defiant Ones, the Netflix special about Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine?
I haven't. It's been on my list for a while.
Oh, it's so good. Jimmy Iovine has this amazing quote that his dad told him. It was like, just make fear is not a bad thing. Just make it your tailwind, not your headwind.
I'm going to make a note of it to watch it tonight with my wife.
Yeah, I think he says this in like episode 5 or 6, and I stopped it and I was like,
it's a series. I thought it was one. Oh.
Brilliant docuseries. So, and like, I'm really into hip hop, so I invested in it because of like the evolution.
Me too.
But then the business aspect of it and what Jimmy Iovine was doing by taking on certain artists and why he was doing it really will blow your mind. But I think fear gets this like bad rap or bad negative connotation. That's kind of why like diving into the scientific reason, what I was saying, like Pendulum talked about in his interview on my show. And I don't think it's a bad motivator anymore. Like, if you're scared of something and it drives you to do something, to still go above and beyond and conquer it, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's how you handle the fear that we can put judgment on. If fear stops you from doing something, then that's the problem. If fear motivates you into a place of being productive or taking risks or living in an uncertain place, uncertainty, therefore growth and expansion comes, and that's not a bad thing. I don't think there needs to be judgments around it.
No, because you're right, because there's fear that is polarizing, right? Where you may just be frozen still, and every single day it just compounds and it gets worse, and it's like procrastination. And then all of a sudden you're at a really, really, really bad place. So fear didn't propel you, it actually froze you. And yeah, in that stance, fear is probably a devastating motivator, probably not the best for you. So how would you utilize fear as a means to propel you forward, to be motivated, to do the next thing? What would be, I guess, a practical way of doing that? I'm just throwing out questions here. I always look at
I try to evaluate the fear. Like the project that I'm working on right now scares the shit out of me. It's really big. I don't know. I'm learning how to do the job as I'm doing the job, but it's about information that gets me so excited. The fear of it failing, or the fear of me not doing a good job, is far less than the fear of me not doing it at all. So I try to evaluate, where's the fear? What is it protecting me from? And what is the outcome? And a lot of fear is usually a projection of the future. It's not of your present feelings. Fear is usually sitting on the precipice of thinking of like, if this goes wrong, or it's usually a outcome of some sort. Like, look, there's fear that is there present to protect you from not dying. But then you're looking at these, if we're evaluating like creative fears, if that's what the question is, more or less, if I'm not going to die from something, what about it scares me? Like fear of moving, fear of change, fear of this. So I try to like balance out what really is my fear. What am I really scared of? Am I scared of success, or am I scared of actually just failing or not even trying? Like, I just feel like I always try to look at, it's like that thing, jump and let the net appear. Like I kind of I'm a person that drives into the fear. I've just been, I think I've operated that way out of survival mode, and I've survived every time. So I keep going back to that theory of fear and not letting it control me, but yet steer me in the direction of where I need to go, that is going to change me, that's going to evolve me. So this project, I must do it. Even if I fail in doing it, at least I know I tried. There's something to be learned from it. I will grow and evolve. It will present another path. There will be something to constantly learn. Even with acting, that's why I've tried to go from the fear. Oh, electricity just went out. I'm standing by the window. We're still going. Instead of letting like the fear of an audition scare me, or the fear of a character scare me, I kind of like to go, do it, jump off the cliff, see what happens, and then learn from it. Like, what did I learn from that? What did I discover about the character? What did I learn about myself as an actor? So the element of fear doesn't scare me as much anymore. Now I try to like just trick my brain. Anxiety and excitement live in the same place of the body, feels exactly the same. We just attach a feeling emotion to it, of it being good or bad. I like to just say, okay, I'm feeling anxious right now. Oh, actually, I'm feeling excited. I'm excited about this opportunity, instead of feeding into the negative, fearful, restricting side.
That's a good strategy, because I get anxiety a lot. So that's good.
Yeah.
And a lot of it isn't negative. I think you're right. I think it is excitement. It's nervousness, like, whoa, this is something new. Like, this is uncharted territory.
Right? Yeah.
How is it balancing? Because you're a recently new mom. So how is it for you with your routines, with your mantras, with your work schedule, with you being a wife and mother? How is the balance of all that? How do you overcome that? How do you make it fit to your life and in fact propel you forward?
I am constantly battling with that, and I'm constantly in the flow of imbalance. So with a lot of grace and compassion. Just a lot of, this morning I didn't get to do my writing pages because my daughter was up early screaming that her ear hurts. So you know what, instead of beating myself up for it today, I was like, okay, I'll try and get to the writing pages tonight. Or before I went into the library, I took 5 minutes to just breathe, connect for a second. What am I doing? Why am I here? And instead of being so restrictive, I think you have to be in the flow of things too. I have started to become very practiced in being in the flow. My daughter's almost 3. She turns 3 in a week.
Oh, happy early birthday.
Thank you. I think with becoming a parent, I won't just say a mom, just becoming a parent, it takes you time to adjust to that new job. A lot of people think as soon as you become a parent that you should just be excellent at being a mom and dad and juggling life. I think it takes you a solid couple of years to learn how to adjust to, this is a new human, this is how we work now. And I just have to get up earlier. But the thing is once I started getting up earlier, my daughter's now gotten up earlier. Like there's just a constant, I'm just being full disclosure open about this. I'm not nailing this every day. But
who does?
Nobody does. And anybody and I think Instagram does this thing where it gives you this highlight reel of your life, and it's not real. I'm trying to be like on Instagram a little bit more like honest and open about whatever struggles, whether I failed at an audition that day, or I didn't get the job that I really wanted, or like my hair is greasy because I haven't barely gotten to do anything for myself in 3 days other than my research or things that get me excited. So it's a give and take. It's a juggling act. And on days when it all comes together really well, I try to reward myself in some way of exciting something that gets me excited. On days when it doesn't go really well, I try to just, there's another day.
Mm-hmm.
And the legacy of what I'm trying to do with my life or how I'm trying to invest in my life, I try to remind myself daily that what I say to my daughter or what I leave behind for my daughter, for her to digest in television, film, writing, acting, whatever, it doesn't matter. How she sees me act every day is what she's going to remember, and is what is going to be part of her cellular memory, is the emotional feeling of being around me and how I exist in her world. So I try to remember that. I let her see me meditate. I tell her I'm going to write right now and I'll be right back. I do my best on the days that I can when I'm feeling strong to show her a life that looks somewhat in flow. I'm trying to take the word balance out and just be in flow, because some days it's more balanced towards my being a mom, and some days today it's more concentrated on work after I got her out the door. It's a crapshoot, man.
I call it structured chaos.
Completely. You have children?
3 girls. I have twins that are 4 now, and I have a teenager.
I mean, so you need to be the one dishing out the advice, not me.
Oh God, I don't even know what I'm doing half the time, to be honest with you. But that reward system is really important. I used to, so I do a lot of powerlifting and MMA, and I used to do some form of like body treatment once a week. So whether it be gua sha, Graston, chiropractic, deep tissue massage, anything, so some sort of relief once a week. And then it got to once every 2 weeks, and then once a month. And now I haven't had one done in almost 4 months. And you have to get back into that. What is your reward system so that you're always at balance? And for me, when I was doing it consistently, I was more at peace. I was more, I don't know, like I was just more all in all the time, because I had my relief, even if it was for 90 minutes. That 90 minutes, I was sacred. Like I was like, oh yes, I would look forward to it. And so that's very, very huge. The other thing I want to end with this, because I know I want to be respectful of your time. Being an actor, actress, being in the industry that you're in, you're really an entrepreneur. You don't clock in, you don't have a 9 to 5, you're not getting paid a salary or hourly. What are some of the things that I guess pieces of advice that you can give people right now that are getting in this industry? What is an expectation to have? Let's say somebody's they're a kid, they're graduating high school, they're getting into college, they are, they have a 9 to 5 job right now, they want to get into this industry. Like, I'm going to quit my job, I'm going to be an actor or actress. Well,
I think here's the thing. It took me 15 years to realize that. And it's funny that you say entrepreneur, because nobody looks at a creative job as being an entrepreneur. It took me even just this past year to put boundaries around my creativity, meaning, hey, I have office hours that I have to give to myself. I didn't do that at the beginning of my career. I just was like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. What do I do now? Like, I want to be an actor. I want to go to this audition. How do I get an audition? Instead of investing into my like character work and character development, reading plays or doing certain things, we aspire as actors to do the 1%, or you see the 1% all the time. So you think that must be what I need to do to get there. I'm just gonna be in Starbucks and somebody's gonna discover me. Mm-hmm. Even if they do discover you, if you haven't put any work or any preparation into being ready for that audition, you're not going to deliver. So as any creative person, what I learned from interviewing all these people is setting a structure for yourself in order to thrive. So if you're a writer, writing for 2 hours, or even if you do 20 minutes a day. Right now, what I've been writing for a while, for the last year, because I was also acting in my podcast as well, I was writing 20 minutes a day, 3 times a week on this project. Now I've kicked it into high gear, but scheduling in your creative time. The Leslie Becker, who is in her 24th edition of the Organized Actor, in this last edition, she put in what she called the Power Hour. 15 minutes.
Hello. You say hi?
Hi.
She's got, that is a big My Little Pony.
Well, that's my daughter. That's going to go on my daughter's birthday cake this weekend, is My Little Pony.
Can you say hi?
Hi.
What is it?
No, Mommy said that don't sing and only talk.
Oh, okay. Wow. Did your sister buy it for you? Did Nani get it for you? Mommy? Okay. I'm going to finish this conversation. You can stay here if you want, but you have to be respectful, okay?
Hi. I'm almost done. I'll finish answering this question and then you can have Daddy back.
Go ahead. Okay, I'll help you have her sing later, okay? Okay, can you give me 2 minutes, please? I'm on the phone, okay? Yalla. I'll be down in 2 seconds. Love you. Sorry about that. That happens
I
sometimes.
just heard Yella. Are you?
Oh, I'm Lebanese. That was Arabic.
Ah, my husband's Israeli and we say Yella all the time.
Oh, you're kidding. We're neighbors.
Yeah. We are neighbors.
We're neighbors.
Stressful kind of neighbor.
What's that?
It's a distressful kind of neighbor, but yes,
Yeah.
neighbors.
Yeah, well, I've got a lot of Israeli friends. I'm not one of those guys. Technically, I'm not even Arab. I'm actually Phoenician. The Lebanese people are like this weird, it's a long story. Anyways, continue with your answer.
It's a whole other podcast. I can't wait to hear about it. So I think just treating yourself like an entrepreneur. So here's things I would say. Scheduling time for your creativity, whether that's like if you have an 8 to 5 job where you have to pay your bills as an actor, so then that night go to an acting class, read a play, read the trades, so that when you meet somebody that comes into your restaurant and they sit down and they're like such and such executive, like, you know, oh, they're the head of Sony. Like, you need to start educating yourself on who are the people that you want to be working with, because it's not the 1% you're attaining to be. You want to be a working actor, or you want to be a working writer, you want to be staffed. So practice your craft, get your 10,000 hours in however you need to, but schedule them. There was another thing that I was going to say that I think is really, being a small business owner, like you are an entrepreneur. Anybody that starts a small business, they're in debt for a few years. And I'm not advocating that you go out and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on your small business. But if you're carrying a little bit of debt every year, that's okay, because you have to invest in yourself in order to grow to the next level. It took me a long time to be okay with carrying it, but I was like, oh, my business is a little bit in the red this year, or this year it's not. Well, you have to look at it like a small business. Small businesses take anywhere from 5 to 10 years to get off the ground. So you as a working creative storyteller, know that you might not be in the black for 10 to 15 years. So just accepting that if this is what you're meant to do, if this is your calling, if this is what gets you most excited about being anything in the creative field, then invest your time to be successful in a way in which your result or your outcome is not going to make you feel worse about yourself.
So really, you got to look at being an actor, wanting to become an actor or writer, as starting a business. Like, live below your means as much as possible. You got to eat, eat cheap, live cheaply. Don't buy anything that isn't a necessity, and really learn your craft, and then start networking. I also want to touch on, would you recommend, while you are learning this skill set and mastering your craft, given the fact that we live in 2019 and social media is a wonderful way to get access to people, would you recommend, if I were wanting to become an actor, would you recommend me reaching out to people, like, I don't know, on LinkedIn, Instagram, what have you?
I think so. I think it's just a matter of, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to connect with people to make content? Are you trying to connect to people to work with them? Like, I think you have to be very keen on how you were approaching people on these platforms, because also, you know, like 10 years ago, I interviewed this amazing person the other day. He sent Sam Remy a cover letter about why he wanted to work for him, and it worked. It was so funny that Sam wrote him back, and he interned for him for that summer, and now he's directed 8 of his own films.
Whoa.
But that was a very specific case before the land of social media, before all this big boom. I'm not deterring people from reaching out, but just have a clear idea of mind of what you're wanting to achieve. So I think learning to align with people, like get in a class where everybody else is a series regular or reoccurring all the time. Always put yourself in a position where you're the least educated in the room so you can thrive and grow beyond your level. And I think also, since you're treating this like a small business, you also need to look at every level and understand that most likely you're not going to jump from being a no one to being a series regular on a show or being nominated for an Oscar. So you have to look at your wins and gains as moving you to the next level. So get out here, get a couple co-stars. Understand that the next level is reoccurring. The next level is guest star. This understanding what your levels are and how the business works. If you're having to jump and get beyond a couple levels, great, wonderful, kudos to you. But I think it will help with your self-esteem if you understand the trajectory of the creative position in which you were setting out to make a career out of. Because it's not, as my coach always says, it's a 60-year career, not a 6-year career. So if you want to be a flash in the pan and you want to be famous, then great, go do reality TV and get yourself a ticket straight to fame. If you're here to be a creative person who's investing in storytelling of any kind of creative type, then learn your craft and take each nugget to keep you on your path, and utilize your resources in a clever way, and also just nurture friendships of people that inspire you. So be around people that are doing great work and nurture those relationships in a respectable, I think, authentic way. Mm-hmm. Any time that people reach out to me on Instagram or do certain things, there's a lot of people that I won't engage with because I don't understand what the motive is. There's other people when the motive is very clear and they're very kind people, and you can, like the way you approached me, I was like, yeah, of course, it feels great. You want to approach people in a way in which they want to help you. So figuring out how to hone in on those networking skills, I think, is also a really big thing as a small business owner. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you happen to vlog by any chance? Do you have a YouTube channel?
I do not. Well, actually, I'm starting one with my sister. We do a series called Shit They Don't Tell You about being moms and all those things. But people keep pushing me into the vlogging route. The reason why I haven't done that is because one of my avenues of storytelling is acting, and it's nice for me to be able to blend into the characters and camouflage. But I understand the world that we live in, and a lot of people want to digest the vlogging side. So I'm open to it. I'm not going to say never. But my podcasts, a lot of the guests that I get, it is because it's just audio.
Got it.
I kind of go back and forth until I'm going to be really enticed to do that. I'm awful out of time in the day.
No, I totally get it. But, just getting to talk to you for the past, whatever, hour, 40 minutes, I think YouTube may surprise you. It may ignite a different side of creativity that maybe you didn't expect. There's a lot of YouTubers that are just YouTubers that are just doing reality TV and vlogging, and it's just kind of annoying. But there's quite a bit that are real creators that take it very seriously, and they love film, they love videography, they love being able to utilize a video camera and make wonderful things with it, whether it be humorous or dramatic or whatever. And I don't know, it might be a platform for you that need to be explored someday.
Well, now that you said it, I'm going to explore it even more. I always look for cues. Well, there you go. So
awesome. Well, I really, really appreciate your time. especially reaching back out to me to be able to do this. This is very awesome and exciting. I hope maybe in the next year, 2 years or whatever, we could do a follow-up and just touch base and see where you're at and what kind of evolution that you've achieved. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I just want to ask where people can find you, if you want people to find you, and whether you want to promote your podcast. We get about 2,000 to 3,000 downloads a day, and then we also run a bunch of paid advertising, since that is my forte. So this will be publicized. You might get some attention from an audience that you weren't accustomed to or may have heard of you before. So here's your time to shine.
So yeah, people can find me on all social media outlets at Alyshia Ochse. So it's ALYSHIA OCHSE. I can thank my mother for that amazing spelling. It's also my website, alyshiaochse.com. So you can also digest the podcast on my website, as well as anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, all of them. But it's also there. There's a blogging component to my podcast. So if people hear any resources that other people have used, I link out everything for them to be able to use.
Wonderful.
And then my book is also on my website. I wrote a book about 5 years ago. So it's self-published on there as well. Yeah, so if anybody needs some self-motivational practices to keep you evolving as a human being, that's the way I like to put it, not self-help, but self-motivation. It's a little 57-page, I say little because it is 57-page self-motivational book, a practice that I use to get myself out of depression, honestly.
What's it called?
It's called Life Letters.
Oh, nice. I like that.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah.
And yeah, head over to that One Audition if anybody's interested in any storytelling Hollywood influencer type that shares their journey told through various failures and survival skills that have just kept them in the game. So everybody from writers, directors, actors, musicians. I did the head animating director from Spider-Man Spider-Verse. He just did my last bonus episode.
Crazy.
Yeah, I do.
I saw that. That was cool.
He changed the game of animation, I think. Mm-hmm. And I think he's gonna win an Oscar. I'm just saying. It
was really good. I really enjoyed it. And I grew up watching Spider-Man.
Yeah, really unbelievable. So yeah, so that's all the places you can find me. The show's at That One Audition on all social media outlets as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for adjusting the time too.
Oh, absolutely.
Sometimes when I get stuck in research land, I'm like, oh my God, 4 hours went by. How did that happen?
I totally get it. I looked at the clock and it was 2 o'clock. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm late for my appointment. I thought it was like 10. So it happens. Totally happens. Well, I hope you have a wonderful week and a wonderful day, and we'll touch base, and I'll stay in contact with you on Insta. Check out all the cool things you're doing.
Send me all the links when this is ready, and I'll send it out as well.
I will, absolutely. We'll send you the audio and video just in case you want it. Okay. we can do some editing. We'll do some editing. Okay. Awesome. Well, have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.